The following programming is sponsored by Mark J. Bernstein. The views expressed do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or Beasley Media Group. Entrepreneur, founder, author, and financial advisor Mark Bernstein helps high-performing business owners turn their visions into reality. Through his innovative work and the Forward Focus forums, Mark connects entrepreneurs to resources that fuel their success. Founders Forum is a radio show and podcast where entrepreneurs share their journeys, revealing the lessons they've learned and the stories behind their success. Join Mark and his guests for a mix of inspiration, valuable insights, and a little fun. Now, let's dive in.
Good morning, America. How are you? I just want to remind everyone where that came from. It's not from the TV show, and it's not from Good Morning Vietnam. It's from Arlo Guthrie singing a song by, just forgot his first name, Goodman, who was a songwriter. It's the City of New Orleans. Great song. And to me, it describes America. And it's a very good question to ask these days. Good morning, America. How are you? So how's America doing? Anyway, here we are. I don't want to get too serious. We have our guest today, Deanna, who we'll introduce in a second. And we also have Nik Mondo back in the studio. Nik was on one of our last shows. And I was driving in this morning, and I happened to find I got a notification about singer-songwriter that I know. Her name, I wasn't going to say her name, but I think I should. I'll give her a little plug. Kerrigan Barry. And she is the daughter of a friend of mine, and I followed her music career since she was a teenager. She's a really good songwriter, good instincts, and then she went to school in Nashville at Belmont University, which is one of the great schools for songwriters and musicians these days. And she came out, and I thought she would do country music, and I think she was writing country music for a while, and she came out with this rock song, and it's a really in-your-face rock song, and it's called Obituary, and the middle part of that word is spelled B-I-T-C-H, and it's got some, what they used to call off-color language. It's very engaging, and it's very in-your-face, edgy, and it has a parental advisory on it. And, I had two different occurrences. One is that, hey, this is a really catchy song. This could really catch on. And then the second was, but it won't get radio play. And the third was, what's she trying to do here? It was the question. And it's clear to me she's trying to get attention and she's trying to put herself out there. But I just wanted to get, I think we'll ask Deanna first, your thoughts on this. She's in marketing. We'll tell you more about what she does soon. And so I want to first ask from a marketing point of view what you think, and I want to ask what Nik thinks as well.
I think it is important in the industry that you need to be able to get yourself out there and be seen and be known. And so having some type of edge, regardless of what that edge is definitely going to be an upper hand for her. And as long as that's kind of the identity that she wants to have, then she's in. If she leads with this and then tries to go country, she might have to make it first. But it's good.
Yep. So I will play you the song later. I played a little for Nik. It's pretty
okay,
cool.
Can't wait.
It's edgy.
Yeah.
It's good.
I want to hear it.
I'm not sure what it would even take to navigate through the instant gratification from the social media, and I'm not sure about how to even go about navigating that. And, that's something that maybe perhaps we'll pick your brain a little bit further, Deanna, down this interview and see if you have any insight on that.
I like that. The other thing that occurred to me about it is, she's a young woman trying to make it in business is really what she is. And you're still a fairly young woman.
Why, thank you.
You're welcome. That is mother of three, I should say. So I wanted to ask you about your perception of being a woman in business and what it takes to be successful as a woman in business. Kind of a dumb question because it's like more than half of our population, but it's a very relevant question, I think, today.
And I get it. And, I surround myself in a lot of male-dominated industries, and I started I was in an electrical supply house. So it was very male, and I was young. And I think that the biggest key to being a successful businesswoman was kind of learning how to handle yourself in those situations. You just need to have your presence known, but not to be different from who you are. Just be confident in that. And that has worked for me. If you can carry yourself in a room and hold a conversation with anybody, male or female, that helps, and it kind of lets you carve your mark.
Great advice. I'll just tell you something personal real quick. My daughter, we were talking about this the other day, who's just got engaged to get married. She's 30. So she, young woman. So she just got back from Morocco to go to a wedding, and she lived in Morocco for a while. So we went to visit her, and, we always worried about, she was living in Rabat, like the capital city. And then we saw where she was living. It didn't seem like the greatest neighborhood. And, and she's petite. She's 5'2" and petite. And she's, so you worry about her in a foreign country like that and all that kind of thing. And early on, we met her in Casablanca originally, where we flew into, which is kind of a rough city with a lot of pickpockets and thieves like that. And she and I went out together to see a mosque there. And we were with a cab driver, and apparently he charged too much. And she speaks fluent French, and she's this, my little daughter's got her finger in this guy's face and telling him the way things are, and him backing way up. And I was like, I don't think I have to worry about her. I think she's pretty good. So that's kind of an example.
Also important to know when to turn that on, know?
Yeah. And I think she's
little bit mighty.
And she can be very, feminine and all that too. I mean, she's not, if she's, on the quieter side, but when she needs to, she's going to speak her mind. And I was pretty impressed. I worried a lot less about her after that. So our guest today is Deanna Robinson. Is that your married name or your
married name? Correct.
Oh, so you're Mrs. Robinson.
Okay. I am Mrs. Robinson.
So, as played by Anne Bancroft. I was thinking about that this morning. One of my favorite movies, The Graduate. For reasons maybe I'll speak about on another show. But anyway, Deanna is the founder of Social Impression, a full-service marketing agency established in 2012 that helps businesses stand out through strategic planning, creative campaigns, and digital marketing. As a fractional CMO, she combines big-picture strategies with hands-on execution, guiding clients to reach their goals with a unique laddered marketing approach. I love the concept of that, and I'm looking at those things myself, and we'll talk more about that. So welcome, Deanna, officially.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Our pleasure, since Nik is co-hosting with me today.
Yes, welcome.
So tell us about that. So tell us about your start. You mentioned starting working in electrical supply house. I've had those as clients, very familiar with lots of supply houses. I've had many of them as clients. I worked in a warehouse myself, grew up in a warehouse business, and worked in warehouses. So tell us, where you started and how you arrived at this profession and sort of your early journey.
Yeah. So I started my journey in fashion, actually. I was going to run a fashion empire. Yep. And then I realized it just didn't fit the life that I wanted. So I pivoted into marketing. That was my degree. So it was a perfect fit. I was at an electrical supply house, spent a lot of great years there, learned a lot of my foundation of who I am as a marketer.
You were there as a marketing person.
As a marketing person, yeah. And then I had my daughter. And the plan was that I was going to stay home. I wanted to stay home, and that's what I wanted to do. And it turns out I like giving people advice, regardless if they ask for it or not. But I like to share.
You should meet my wife.
And that is, though, how my company was born. It was completely by accident. It was not in my plan. It slowly grew with me as I figured out what I kind of wanted out of it. I like to joke and say it started over free cupcakes because that's literally my first client. It was the local baker, and I was giving her social media marketing advice. She's like, manage my social media. And I was like, well, you give me cupcakes, because I was there with my daughter a lot. And that's kind of how it all began.
Did giving away cupcakes become a marketing strategy of hers after that?
A little bit.
A little bit.
Occasionally.
There you go. Okay, so early on, I know you started out, it was just you. So what kind, obviously you had challenges being a mom and doing that. What did that feel like, and what did that look like for you?
Yeah, at the beginning of my journey, I like to say I was kind of living two separate lives. I was, being a true stay-at-home mom during the day and doing all these fun things, and then I would moonlight as a marketer, and I would work all through the night. But it fueled me. I was somebody who just it was the best. I got to do everything I wanted to do. But you get to a point where, you can only take on so many people where you're working all night and you have to sleep at some point. So then I started surrounding myself with others to help. But everything would still kind of funnel through me,
So you've been in business for about 13 years now.
You got it.
And In my world, they'd say that's your bat mitzvah year
I love it.
in business. But so you've 13 years. So how long did that go on for till you started morphing?
When I morphed into a real business, as I like to say, that would have been 9 years ago.
Gotcha.
And the reason was it got to a point. What's the plan? Am I just going to keep doing this and stop taking clients and be happy? I was living a great life. Or do I want this to be bigger? And at that point, I had my third child on the way. And I was like, I know that I can't do all of this by myself. And I wanted to go all in. So I decided that I no longer wanted to be the only expert. I want to surround myself with experts,
So what made you want to go all in, considering that originally you said, I want to be a stay-at-home mom? So you got the bug.
I just have the bug. I mean, I like being in everybody's business. I like giving advice, whether they want it or not. And I think I'm good at it. And I love marketing. That makes me happy. And with my business, I still get to do all the things. I'm a very hands-on mom, but I also now have, a marketing company.
So how did you go about starting to get all in? How did you do that?
Finding the right people. It was, I make it sound easier now, but it's hard to pull yourself out of the weeds when you're the one that does everything, or think that you have to be the one to do everything. And part of that's because I just loved it, right? Like it's easy to spend time doing things you like, but identifying where was a bad use of time and how others can be even more effective than me, and others know more than me. That was the true turning point.
So Nik and I talked on his show about unique abilities, getting people in their unique abilities. In your business, it's conceivable that you might want people that all do the same thing, that are marketing people. Was that the case, or did you need other people doing unique things?
It depends, because over the course of time, I have lots of different types of positions. I have some people who are a jack of all trades in marketing and think a lot like me in that sense. And then I have some people who are just digital ad experts. That's what they do. I have social media content creators. That's what they do, and that's their specialty. So it kind of depends on the position.
And by the way, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think you have any employees. Do you have any employees?
No.
Right. So, but you have a team of how many people, would you say?
Yeah, 12 right now.
Yeah. So I think that's that for a lot of businesses, probably not for yours, Nik, but
I went down the wrong road with that, so to speak. It's service-based industries. You need the manpower, for sure.
Went down the wrong road, but you do have contractors and you have employees.
Oh yeah, we certainly have a whole slew of 1099 contractors that our specialty in certain areas that we use on a per project basis, for sure.
But I think it's the wave of the future. I mean, it's getting more expensive to have employees. It's getting more problematic in a lot of ways, and the employee and the people like to have some degree of freedom.
Well, and that's kind of how I always spin it to people when we're talking about it. It kind of gives them the ability to live their life the way that they want to, just like I've designed mine that way. They can control it. I don't care. You make your own hours and do whatever you want to do as long as the job gets done. And
look, in my business, we have employees, and the only non-employee that I have personally is Shan, who you guys have both experienced, our virtual assistant, who's remarkable. I never have to worry about her work ethic, but also with our employees, because we've been virtual for a long time, and we have, I think, a strong culture. And even today, Fridays, our employees don't come in the office, but there's no letdown in workflow. So I don't really think anymore, if you're getting the right people, there's a difference in terms of how they're going to go about their work. It's just a question of what suits the business and what suits your model better and what suits the people that you have. I mean, a creative business, I think it definitely makes sense to have independent people.
Yeah, and we get lucky. I mean, we're marketing, so there's very rarely marketing emergencies. If there is, then,
Right.
it's an easy ask.
Right.
So that helps.
So aside from finding the right people and helping you grow, it's been a smooth ride, right? In terms
Of course.
So tell us about that. Like, what kind of challenges have you had along the way?
I mean, the biggest challenge we can say, and this is always, is salesmen. And not for my company, but my client's company, right?
Right.
Because marketing and sales do very different things. And we work wonderfully together. But we work best as a one and a two. And not always salesmen, they don't always have that in their company. But depending on their goals, sometimes we need that in order for me to do what I need to do for marketing. I have an example if that doesn't make any sense.
I'd like to hear it, and I have an example to give you back, because to me, to do a complete job, you almost have to educate salespeople a little bit, right?
Sometimes I do. Yep, sometimes I do, because we have very different outlooks. And sometimes the salesmen are like, I hate marketing, and you do nothing. And I'm like, no, you're just looking at it from the long lens. We just do very different things. But
so
for
tell us the
sales,
story.
for instance, if you tell me, your goal and what you need today is leads. I need leads. I need to feed my team. We need to eat, and we need people to call. We need jobs. Well, I can bring them to you, but if you don't have a salesman to close it, I can't do that, because 99% of the time, that's what we need to close the deal, unless we have a long runway and we have drip campaigns and all that good stuff.
But the salesperson's message has to be consistent with the marketing that you've done.
Correct.
Right.
And the salesman, and they have to be a salesman, right? They have to be hungry. A hungry salesman, if they work with us, we're great. That's...
Gotcha. One more quick question before we go on break, because we're going to do a 1 minute break. What is the? I'm trying to formulate the question in my mind. What challenges do you have in terms of that integration between sales and marketing? I guess
it's every company is different. There's some companies that don't even have a sales team, and then there's so you have to meet. I always have to meet the client where they are. And then obviously try to work with them with the systems they have. And if they don't have a salesman, or they don't have a CRM or things of that sort, then we try to help design ideas around that, or that doesn't require that. But then we have to set our marketing objectives and goals, obviously, to reflect that.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back, and we're going to follow up on that question. Thanks, Deanna.
Establishing a self-directed Roth IRA or other self-directed retirement plan offers access to investment options usually only available to well-connected or wealthy individuals. Anyone can build wealth and achieve tax-free income for life and financial freedom without the inordinate risk of speculative investing, securities, trading exotic financial instruments, or hoping for the best from the stock market. Since their start in 2003, Camaplan has come to be synonymous with expertise, flexibility, responsiveness, and diversity in investment choices. They provide innovative investment opportunities for investors seeking direct control and more choices in how they deploy their investment capital. Camaplan doesn't just make it possible to invest in alternative assets. They also teach investors how to put their money to work. Take the road to financial freedom today. Go to camaplan.com/foundersforum.
We are back on Founders Forum with our guest today, Deanna Robinson, and Nik Mondo is with us. And at the beginning of the show, we were talking about how women need to present themselves in business and the challenges of being a woman in business and that kind of thing. And Nik, I know you had a follow-up question for Deanna about that.
Yeah, Deanna, do you find in your industry that there is a difference between your competitors that are male-run, and if you do, how do you navigate that personally in your business?
Yeah, so I can't talk about, obviously, the entire marketing world of women to men in general. But for me, I think what sets us apart is I think you can feel my marketing energy. And it's definitely a very feminine one that I'm giving off. And hopefully that ages with me as I age. But, I'm a marketing geek, and that pours out. And you either love that about me, or we're not the fit for you. When I pick a team and people to obviously work with my clients, that's the one thing that I do make sure is consistent. Like, do they just like what they do? Because marketing is fun. And if the team's not having fun when we're doing it, we just shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
Well, I love, when we talked earlier, you had actually said you don't take on clients that don't align with your values or your approach. I think that's wonderful, because you know who your customers are then.
Yep. And it's not a niche thing. It's not a size thing. It's really just a per person thing. It's probably, I don't know if it's the best business advice or the worst, but I always say, if you're calling me and I look at my phone and I cringe inside, I'm not going to be a good fit for you, because I can't help you.
Have you fired clients?
I have. Yep. It very rarely. It's actually only happened once in my entire span.
I have a couple stories like that too. Very, very rare, because we're very selective about clients we take on too. But if we get to a point where we say, this isn't working, we look for commitment. And people say, well, we're financial planners, it should all be on us. But if clients aren't committed to the journey that they're on and to doing what they need to do to get there, then we can't help them after a certain point. So,
and for me, I can only help you if you want to be helped, if that makes sense.
Right. I think it's two different sides of the same coin to a certain extent. So what are let's talk about your future vision for a second. Sometimes I go later in the show for this, but I want to get right into it. So, and you chose to talk about your 3-year vision. So if we're looking out, it's October of 2028, and we're sitting here together, and you're saying, this was a very successful period in my business and my life. What would have to happen, Deanna, for what to result in that conversation?
Yeah, I mean, just being in business makes me happy, and I will consider it successful. But obviously we have to have goals, because if not, you're going to go backwards. So in 3 years from now, I hope to have a larger fractional CMO side of business and consulting. And that's mainly because our operational side of social media, digital ads, graphic design, it's like a well-oiled machine. We do it well. We have a good mark in the industry for it. But I personally love giving marketing strategy and consulting advice. So it would be great if we could pick up more clients in that realm.
If that goes well, is there a particular vertical or type of company you like working with?
Yeah, so for the fractional CMO, we're then going to be looking at larger clients. So because we help now a lot of medium size and large business. I mean, you could still be 50 million, in some, and even like 150, 200 employees. But then you're talking much larger. They already maybe have a marketing team and people, but they just need outside strategy, outside ideas. They know what, maybe it's an intermittent because somebody's out of office, or they're replacing somebody, in the executive leadership. That would really be a fun new role that we could take more on.
Now, would that be a role just for you, or would you use some of your other people to be that fractional CMO as well?
For now, that would be me. Right. However, we're always just one more client away from that. I would love to have somebody else of the same equal caliber with experience to also be able to take over some of that.
Is that instead of your normal marketing services, or in addition to?
No, definitely not at all.
So you would build on it.
Yeah, just to build on.
So we had talked before about diversifying services, so I think that's what you're referring to.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Gotcha. And you talked about more customized strategies when we talked earlier too. Is that different than what you're doing today, or that's?
I mean, we do a lot of that now,
right.
But not everybody has the budget, and that is kind of where it sets us apart, is where we meet clients where they are. I'm a big believer is you don't need to have 6-7 figures for a marketing budget. If you only have 4, that's okay. Let's make it work. Doing anything is better than nothing. So it would just be doing more of that.
What challenges lie ahead in terms of accomplishing that vision in your mind?
Oh, that was a good one. I didn't come prepared. What lies ahead? It's really just putting myself out there to do it, and going for the extra large clients that we don't typically service now.
And I would also think, if you're expanding services, expanding your business, because you've always had this balance of family and business. How old are your children? Do you have all daughters? Is it?
I have 2 and a boy. So I'm a mix. I have a 14, an 11, and an 8.
Okay. So they're in their formative years still.
They are.
And 3 years from now, you'll have, pretty much, a younger one and teenagers.
Yeah.
So that could be a challenge, I would imagine.
I mean, I'm a mom.
Right.
I'm a working mom. So every day is a juggling act, and there's no secret to it, and there's definitely no balance to it. It's always chaotic.
By the way, I say this to my wife all the time, and she was a family therapist, so she did, right? But it's a lot harder when we had teenagers. In fact, she got out of her practice around that time because it was so much to just focus on her own teenagers and what was going on. But I think women are amazing. I really do. I put them on a pedestal because that balance, is difficult for men. Most men, including me, look back, and I was pretty active with my kids and tried to get to all their games and all that. But I look back and I always wished I did more. But moms do it all, and they're used to doing it all the time, which is, it's almost innate to women, I think. That's
my favorite part about being an entrepreneur, though. I mean, I've literally designed my life so that I'm still picking them up from the bus stop and things. I mean, I might be driving them to their sport and having a conference call, and sometimes the client knows, sometimes they don't know.
You're one of those on your ear pods while you're at the game. And
sometimes, I mean, when you have to, you have to. But
I did that too.
I also hope that it shows the kids that, look, you really, whatever you design your life to be, you can kind of make happen. So,
what else? Anything else you see for your future, or anything you see changing in your industry that you'd like to talk about?
I mean, nothing specific, but marketing changes every day. I mean, and that's partially why, when I'm bringing on more people on my team, you need them to love it, because if you don't just naturally love it, they can't stay up to date because it changes too much.
Can you give an example of something that's changing right now before our eyes, or is anything current?
I mean, the biggest thing I guess people are talking about is AI, right? And AI in marketing. And my biggest little one line there is it's a tool. It's not a solution. And people just can't forget that, because at the end of the day, if you just let AI do all your marketing, you're going to sound like every other company out there. Instead, have your marketing team use that to make it sound more polished, get new ideas, more refinement, things like that.
So I'm in charge of our marketing in our company, and I've been using AI, and I got really great ideas from it. But where I'm stuck, and this is what we'll talk about, is it's just not quite coming across the way I need it to come across yet.
Yep, and it's good that you recognize it. I mean, it's a lot. That's typically what happens.
I purposely, because we talk about that a lot on the show, so I intentionally use it all the time now. In fact, yesterday we were in kind of a historic building that we bought for our business. You'll see it tomorrow, but it's going to be named the Armory. And it was an armory actually in World War II. But there's various stories on it. And I used AI, and I used two different AIs, ChatGPT and Claude, and I got two totally different pictures. But they both refer me to the Conshohocken Historical Society, so we're going to go and try to find out more about it. But AI itself isn't going to give us the answer that we're looking for.
Yeah.
So a couple quick questions I'll fire at you. What are your favorite books? What do you like to read?
So the one I always go back to is The Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss.
That's a great book.
Yeah, right. I like it, though. I suck at negotiation, so I don't actually put it great into practice, but I use it a lot with my writing, for email campaigns and stuff, and tone it down a little bit. But I that's a gem that I always go back to.
What are your thoughts about your legacy?
So, my legacy, I'm a tool to other people's legacy. So I hope that when they think of me, they do it kind of with a smile and maybe a chuckle and be like, oh, Deanna and Deanna's team, they really helped me grow and reach our goals. And man, they just really liked what they did. And it just brings a smile upon their face.
You sound like me. That's exactly what I would say.
Really?
Well, one of our things is we do wealth creation, wealth preservation, and legacy. I mean, that's, a lot of what I do is about people's legacy. So yeah, I love that. And if you could speak to your younger self, what advice would you give you?
Oh, man. Just do your thing. It'll all turn out. I was not the conventional learner. I was terrible in school, and I found myself to be very successful. So I tell myself, just be you, and you'll be just fine.
Well, from my experience of you so far, you do a great job of just being you. So thanks for being here. Nik, thanks for being here again.
Thank you very much for having me.
This is a great conversation, and hope you all enjoyed it. And we'll see you again next week on Founders Forum.
We hope you enjoyed your time with Founders Forum and that you found value to take with you throughout your day. Join us again next week for another episode of Founders Forum on WXKB 1039 HD2.